All right. Hello, everybody. My name is Elijah. For those of you who don't know, um, I'm a child of God first and foremost. Jesus Christ, He is my Lord and my Savior. And I take that very seriously. I've always claimed to be a Christian, but to know what that means as an adult um, and to actually have a call on your life, um, I have to act on it. And slowly but surely, I have been. So, outside of me being a child of God, that's something that's eternal. Here on this earth now, uh, I'm a moral reformer among economic systems. I have a nonprofit called Bamboo Roots Initiative, and I have a company called Financial Independence Firm. Um, my vision is whoever enters into this system will be introduced into an infrastructure where they will be debt free within one generation. Again, just as debt grows year after year after year here in America, under capitalism, how it's currently governed and how it has been governed. This is not a new thing, this is an American thing. So if we see how people of America govern capitalism, we'll see that it's um, always going to choose profit over people. There's so many things that I could talk about. You know, my first girlfriend, her grandfather was able to provide maybe for three generations in that one household. And his job was a toll booth worker. That we still have a few. Uh, but many have gone away maybe 20 years ago with the cameras alone. Cameras were taking jobs. Now we have AI. And AI is fascinating as far as what it can do. We don't believe that that might have the ability to take more jobs than a simple camera. Um, I think that we're foolish. When we look at the data, when we look at the math, we see today that Social Security is going to run out in 6.5 years. What does that mean? This was originally designed as the Social Security Act. Um, excuse me, the Economic Security Act. This was sold to us at least as, um, this is the benefit of being an American. This is the benefit of being a tax-paying American, because we have had two major crises within the last 30 years up to this point. We had the Great Depression, we had the Great Panic of 1907. They created the Fed. They made us some promises already up to that point. And again, it doesn't matter what way you want to look at Social Security. It was an idea sold to us. Um, that system has just led to abuse. If we see, again, not the system itself, but how it was ran, we see today in 2026, a child born, we would need 106% of their lifetime, their entire life. We need more than they're able to produce. 106% of their lifetime income tax just to pay our interest on debt. Man, we could talk about debt. But instead of diving into all of that, what I've realized is that America and capitalism, America has leprosy, and that leprosy is capitalism. You know, it reminded me of the story in the Bible, which I'm going to look into because I think that we should really discuss this deeper. But there was this mighty man of valor, this mighty man, and he was, high in power, high in rank. I believe he knew the king, but he had leprosy. Leprosy was this disease, infectious disease, that was, I believe, autoimmune. It was a bacteria that was eating away at your own skin, um, turning your body part white, and it was a very sickly disease. You were supposed to quarantine from these people, stay far away. So, for this mighty man to have leprosy, still was a stain on how we operated everywhere. So, yes, America, you can say that you're mighty, you can say that you're powerful, but you can't deny the fact that you only gained that wealth that quickly off of the backs of those same people that you're ignoring. You've made promises to rectify in some sort of, um, in some way, to the majority of people, but not to everybody. And you haven't even held your word to the majority. I mean, in 6.5 years, those who are receiving Social Security benefits are going to expect to see almost a fourth of that disappear immediately. And they're not even getting a lot now. Some of these people are only receiving $1,200. My grandmother in North Carolina is receiving less than $1,000 a month. She is expected to receive a 24% decrease, $700 in 2027. Like, what are we talking about? If we look at the cuts in the big, beautiful bill just last year, to social programs, we see that 15 million people are expected to lose access to healthcare in America. Do we not know how expensive it is? So when we talk about capitalism, yes, it is a phenomenal thing, and it, I guess, promotes growth for strong businesses. But then I even go and look at the philosophy of the mass, which is scary to me, because we are told to invest by those we trust into the best companies. But these best companies are the very ones putting us in this position. We are so selfish. As long as we think that we'll be okay, we don't care what happens to the fellow man. We don't care what happens to our neighbor. We don't care what happens to our children. Like, we are like, if as long as I get $1 million, I'll be straight. And that's probably what you thought when you started. But now you're starting to see these other articles that are saying you need at least 5 million to retire. This thing is only going to get worse. So my question to you then would be, why else would we not look at building something while we still have time? Because I know that in 6.5 years they are projecting the elderly poverty rate to double, the elderly homelessness rate to double. There are things that are going to happen if laws are not passed. Yes, there are a lot of other things that we can talk about with the war, with the gas prices, with inflation, but these are all tied to the same exact system. When you really go back to Social Security and you see what Social Security numbers give you access to, how that is tied to the creation of debt, I can guarantee the auto industry has been deceptive with Social Security numbers. The healthcare industry has been deceptive with Social Security numbers. The education system has been deceptive to Social Security numbers. And we can break that down if we want to, but the sole issue is this thing that was given to us that originally started as identification, that has now tied us into an economic system, which I wrote about in a couple of my books, is failing. That is what we know. This is not a prediction. What are we going to do about it? So, man, if you are talking about some of these issues, talking about some of these problems, and not only the problem, but what are we going to do as far as a solution? Because I've been trying, man. I've talked to Black Panthers. They actually wanted me to speak on their show consistently, but something just didn't feel right. It wasn't time. I've had opportunities to build, and I just want to make sure that we do this right and in the right spirit. Because what I believe in Jesus. There's too much evidence to ignore that Jesus Christ not only lived, but he did what he said, and other people can prove it, even those who didn't believe. So what my Lord in Christ Jesus said when he was here on earth, he said, when he was asked by the Jews, they were trying to crucify him. They were trying to kill him because they didn't like him. So they asked him, which is the greatest commandment? And this is what Jesus said. Surely I say unto you that you are to love God with all of your mind, all of your heart, all of your soul. And this is just as great as the first, to love your neighbor as you love yourself. All of the commandments can be summarized within these two. All of the commandments. Think about that. I don't care if you were black. I don't care if you were white. I don't care if you were Jew. I don't care if you were Hebrew. I don't care if you were Arabic. I don't care. If you have a social security number, you are also a part of the system. What are you going to do about it? I'm not saying that I have the only way. In fact, I think that I'm just one part of a much larger uh, problem. So I would love to start discussing these sort of things with people. But until America addresses its leprosy of putting people, profit over people, it will never succeed. We can never expect the government to provide us anything. Why would you expect someone who has been hitting on you and beating you and taking advantage of you for 30 years to suddenly do something different because they changed? No, they're not going to change. And I'm not saying rebel. I'm saying that we can use our social security number in a different way, that there is another way to wealth and access. I just dropped a video with one of my first clients before I even knew that I was doing mission work, right? He's been with me for 3 years. In the midst of everything going on right now, I would love for you guys to go check him out. This is the type of community that I want to build. Once he finishes this plan in his debt-free time, which is 4 years, by the time he's 40, he'll have his house paid off. Go check it out. He has access to equity. If we do that for enough families, enough people, we can have a new equity pool that we can go ahead and provide real resources for families. You know who really inspires me? People like Richard Allen. Richard Allen was a slave, and he gained his freedom, and he became a pastor, and he started the AME Church, the African Methodist Episcopal Church. And not only did he start the church and did he gain his freedom, but he had a call on him where he started schools. He started mutual aid societies and funding. He started burial societies to make sure that, you don't have to worry about that cost anymore. Could you imagine if we removed GoFundMe from our community? I don't want to see that anymore, especially as a life insurance agent, but it's not necessary. It's not necessary. We just don't have the education. This is nothing that I created. God has granted me to be in positions and in certain rooms at the right time. These are frameworks built off of Abraham Epstein, a founder in Social Security. Founded in Nelson Nash's design of the infinite banking. Founded in Garrett Gunderson's What Would the Rockefellers Do strategy. These are things that we can implement. I know somebody. Okay, I'm going to shut up after this, but I talk about Timmy all the time. Timmy was not smarter than me. Timmy was not in a different environment necessarily than me. We went to the same high school. We had access to the same education. And in fact, if we really want to be honest, Timmy had a birth challenge that was visible to others that would have actually made his life more difficult to be successful. And he had that system. By the time he was 18, he knew that in his heart he wanted to go put his hand at real estate. And he has acquired a portfolio worth over $1 million. By the time I graduated college with a degree in debt, he had multiple properties. He had equity. He had land. He had access. He had a family. He got married. He had children. He just had he had never had to apply for a job, all because of the system that he didn't even need to learn about. It was gifted to him. I want our next generation to be gifted this education, but that does mean we need to have a larger attention span than 35 seconds. There is a lot of education to go over, but man, I love you all. I love you all. Till next time, peace.